Buongiorno, Mr. Me.
Hello,
I don't know what that
hello.
was. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, boss?
Oh, it's a Monday. It's been a full day, and it's nice to sit down here, have a drink with you, and
Yes.
catch up.
Mondays is always
It's
very
Bananas
busy.
Day. It's just, I feel like it's one of those days if it could be 48 hours, I might get more done.
Were you
You know?
still working on the book?
Oh yeah. Well, we got working on the Raid 4 design. Actually, maybe this is a good time to we should also introduce. We always just do this. We just jump in, but we don't actually say.
Oh, who are you, sir?
For those out there, I'm Ramón Perez,
I am Eric Vedder.
and this is Make Shit Mondays. We do this every week, and we still haven't figured out a format yet.
Nope. No.
We'll
I
we'll
think
get
that
better
one day we
eventually.
will. One day we might have we'll do housekeeping for the first 20 minutes, then we'll
Yeah,
do this, and then we'll have set questions for the guests.
yeah,
It
and
would be
that'll
better to be more professional, but we're getting there.
yeah that'll be our last episode. I feel like we'll,
Yeah.
we'll get it,
And
and
we're
we'll just
done.
go out on a high note, right? But just today, update everybody out there. Our Kickstarter has been doing great for Raid
Yes.
4 Klaatu. We funded within 7 hours, which just blew us all away. We were so happy. And we blew through our first stretch goal over the weekend, which was 26K, and we just crested 30K. So that means at this point, everybody is getting a double-sided poster who backed the campaign so far, along with the regular tier you just backed. We'll be announcing the new stretch goal probably early tomorrow. It's more than likely going to be a book upgrade. We want to really kind of make this book sing, make it look sexy, and that's where we're going to put the money in, basically.
Yeah, that's
So
really
yeah,
good.
it's a pretty exciting time, right? And I think we haven't really talked about it directly, but I think we're also going to be pushing back. We had two other Kickstarters planned, but the studio is taking a bit of a holiday for a week. We're going to just relax like normal people. So we
Yeah,
decided to push back the next Kickstarter by a week or two,
that's probably
just to give ourselves a bit of breathing room. You know.
It's amazing how much work there is during the campaign.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not doing it. I know you are, but I just from the text from Sam and from and you and the emails, the base camp updates. It's crazy the amount of work that goes into these things. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Like
obviously, it's worth it if you and I think the more time and energy you put in them, the better the
oh
results
for
are going to
sure.
be.
Yeah.
So,
And
and good learning experience for all of us too, just to see it happen
yeah.
kind of in real time. So,
Oh, for sure. And the thing is, it's like we have a great team here supporting each other, making these things happen, and they have been indispensable. Whether it's Sam Noir, who's been the wizard behind the curtain, or even just everybody like you who's sharing and constantly sharing the campaign. It's all helpful. I can't imagine just being one person
yeah,
running one of these campaigns. It would just be like mind numbing. It would be like a
yeah.
full time job for a month. You'd have to take leave from whatever you do normally and go ahead and do that full
We
time.
definitely benefit from having a studio, and every iteration of the Kickstarter, starting with Dax's Forest Folk last year, it's like we all learn each time.
Yeah.
We get a little bit better. We get a little bit more insight and knowledge on how to promote it,
Hmm.
how we can prepare ourselves for our own projects for it. It's pretty
Exactly.
rad, and obviously, it's the best part about it is so far we've been funded on every project
Yeah.
we've been part of, and hope to continue that. That's the goal.
Yep.
But it is exciting. It's fascinating to see that we self-published the first three anthologies, and it's way harder to recoup those costs, right? So
I know, right? Yeah, because it's a whole different beast, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so it's just phenomenal, and it just makes me excited for the year to come, basically.
totally,
So
totally,
let's
yeah,
just ride this wave and keep on trucking, basically.
yeah.
You know.
Are you having a drink tonight at all? I've got a glass of wine.
I'm keeping it light, actually. I'm going pure hipster here. I'm having dinner in the form of bone broth, and then I have, and then I got a tea here, and maybe I'll step aside midway for a nice aperitif or digestive afterwards. It's just been a long. I was working. I kept like 16-hour days over the weekend trying to get things done for today. So it's
Is it
been a
in a
long
good
haul.
spot?
Oh, everything's in a good spot. It's just it's a cascading month. It's just nonstop. Lots of things going on.
Where is Mama Deadhead?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is strange. I'm not getting any updates here. I'm not getting hello.
Oh no, it's so bad.
Maybe she's done with it.
She's done. Nah. She's over it. She's like, forget about it.
If they had better introductions, maybe I would have stuck around. But,
I know, right? Before we move on, I want to just make two announcements. This weekend, a bunch of us, myself and yourself included, are going to be at the Toronto Comic Con. And we will be sitting at the Raid booth. We don't have our booth numbers yet, unfortunately, but you can probably find us in the pro area.
I got mine.
Oh, you got yours? Well, I didn't get mine. That's weird.
Yeah, they're on. Like Kevin linked them on the Facebook. There, Kevin Boyd.
Okay, I missed
I'm
that.
P45, and then there's just Raid to the left and right of me. So
yeah, okay. So there we go. We're in the P40s then, I guess, same as last time.
Yeah.
Or just look for the giant orange banner with a skull on it that says
and the coolest artwork ever. Just
and also that same weekend, we're launching Sean Crystal, who was a guest on our show last season, gallery exhibit here at the Raid Gallery up front here. And
is that this weekend?
That's this weekend, this Saturday.
Wow, there we go. Nice, Rob. Yeah, P40 to P46. I didn't know it was the same weekend. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, I think it'll be a good social week. You're going to man the bar. Yeah. I know that's pretty dangerous. So yeah, we're excited to show his exhibit. It's called Electric Acid, and it just showcases some of his comic stuff, his independent work, painted, inked. It's an amazing show. So if you're here for the con this weekend, swing on by, check it out. The exhibit goes up Thursday, and it runs for 2 months after that. And I think Sean's going to be dropping off some copies of his book as well to sell at the gallery.
Is there an actual opening night kind of thing, celebration thing at all?
There is a private event. If you're a guest of basically a guest of Toronto Comic Con, you'll be getting an invite basically. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. I think it's going to be a fun weekend, a good weekend, and we might need a few Advils on Monday. Basically,
I don't even know.
But speaking of gallery exhibits, I look forward to the day we get this guy in the gallery. So awesome. This is our guest tonight.
No, he's our host.
He's our host. maybe he'll take over. He's much more eloquent than either of us, I think.
You can do a way better job than us, yeah.
Ho-Che Anderson, he is a man whose work I've admired for a long time. I remember hitting the comic shops in college, seeing a lot of his work on the shelves, and it's an honor to actually have him on the show tonight and chat with him about his career, his process, and all the amazing things he's doing. So why don't we welcome him aboard?
Yeah.
Mr. Ho-Che Anderson.
Welcome. Eddie, Ramon.
How you doing?
Good, man. Not worthy of that introduction.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
You totally are.
It's I actually find it funny when you're as a collector, of comics, and then you kind of when you go into comics, and we're not that far apart in age. Actually, you're only a handful of years older than me. But I remember seeing your stuff on the shelves and picking it up and checking it out when I was in college. And clearly that means that you started super early, I'm guessing, in your career. To be on the show, you must have been just either fresh out of school or just said fuck school and you just dove right into into art. I don't know.
Yeah, I was 15. When I got started. So, yeah, a little early.
Oh, you're cutting out a bit.
Oh, the signal might be a little bit weak here.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you. Just a little bit broken up, I think. It's just probably the bandwidth of having three handsome gentlemen on the stream. It's a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, the internet can't handle it.
The internet can't handle it.
Look, it's just too much for the internet.
Yeah, exactly. King was your kind of big breakout piece. But the cool thing is you've been working in comics, but you've also dabbled in film and other stuff throughout your career. Can you tell us a bit about that? It's all visual arts and a variety of different things, but I'd be curious to see how these tangents kind of jumped around and happened, if you could.
I it's funny. The thing that got me into this line of work in the first place was the movies and Star Wars. My mother took me to see Star Wars, 1977. Mind blown. Realized it's a whole different world than the one that I was living in Scarborough in the late 70s. And
Oh yeah.
just kind of set me on a path. So the first inspiration was cinema. Right after that
Mhm.
was comic books. All right.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it was all just the fascination with visual storytelling. And it was very easy for me to kind of get involved with comics because all you had to do was pick up a piece of paper, get a pen,
Yeah.
and you're good to go. And I didn't know anybody at that point who had a camera or editing equipment or anything like that. So
Well,
my path was kind of clear if I wanted to get into somewhere into that kind of line of work, it was going to be through comic books. And it wasn't like
mhm.
that was before a second cousin. I loved them as much as I'd loved cinema right from the start. It's just that one preceded the other.
Yeah, yeah.
My thing is, I was always restless as a creator. Once I got into comics, that movie thing was not going away,
Mhm.
and also I got inspired by illustration, by like the old
Oh.
1930s, 1940s, 1950s illustrators.
Oh, okay.
What was going on contemporary in the late 90s and the early 2000s in illustration, and that really galvanized me. And I just realized there's a whole massive world out there. As much as I'd love this one art form in comics, I realized that I didn't have to just be that. I could be anything I wanted to be. I
Yeah.
could practice
Yeah.
those skills that I've learned as a visual storyteller in any number of different avenues. So I've
Yeah.
always been really restless and excited by the idea of trying different things.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, because you also worked as a journalist too for a while
I
as
did.
well.
I did. In addition to having a visual fascination, I've always had a fascination with the words, with the printed word, with the idea of language in general.
Hmm.
And a lot of the times when I was interviewed over my career, I was always really fascinated by the people who were asking me questions. Know like what their life was like. They were going to
Yeah.
take all this information that they had that they'd acquired, and they were going to like develop a story out of it.
Hmm.
And even though it was based on stuff that I had told them and whatever, just like real life information, they were still using it to craft a narrative that they had devised. And
Yeah.
it was also storytelling. It's always comes back to storytelling for me. So yeah, journalism fascinated me. I reached out to people at the Toronto Star in the early 2000s. It turns out they had a thing called an intern program,
Hmm.
and I got involved with them on that basis. I was with them for a couple of years. It was fantastic.
Nice. Um, how? Now, excuse my ignorance here. Did you actually go into full production on any films or shorts of that you did yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my filmmaking journey starts 2008, 2009.
Oh, okay, so it's not too far off.
Not too far.
No.
A good friend of mine was also an aspiring filmmaker, and he'd made a film that he'd gotten funding from through Telefilm years earlier for a 16 millimeter film.
Okay.
So the two of us joined forces. I had written a script for a short film called The Salesman about a gun salesman. And it had some, I don't want to get too much into the details, but it had some autobiographical elements to it. That's a conversation for over a beer someday.
That's how you made the money on the side there a little bit. Okay, I got you.
I like it.
And so I wrote this story, and the two of us embarked on this journey to make this film. We made it. It was supposed to be like 5 minutes. It turned out to be 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I got the bug after that. And,
nice.
So I realized there was only so much I could do between me and my friend. So I enrolled in film school. I went to the Toronto Film School.
Okay.
I went to Sheridan College, and I studied film production in both places. And when I was at the Toronto Film School, I went crazy because I had always, I dreamed for years about having access to all this equipment and other people who were doing this as well, and all this knowledge, and it was all there for the taking when I went to TFS. So I ended up making, I made like I think about 10 or 12 short films of my own that I
Oh
wrote.
wow.
And then I also was either an editor or director of photography or an actor, believe it or not, in about 40 other short films.
Oh
So I made a
wow.
ton of stuff when I was at film school. And
Yeah, yeah.
when I got out, I joined IATSE. I forget what that stands for. It's like the largest motion picture union out there.
Okay,
Like
okay.
Alliance of Theater, I forget, stage and theater workers. I forget what it is.
Okay,
But,
okay.
anytime you go to the movies, you'll see IATSE at the end.
Yeah, I've heard of them before.
Yeah. So
Oh, there you go. Rob's on top of it here.
National Alliance of Theater, Stage, and Employees. Thank you very much. Theatrical stage. So I was a member of IATSE for about 4 years. I was a camera department. I wanted to be a camera operator. I didn't achieve that. I was a camera assistant. So that meant I was the guy going around, with the clapper or marking actors or changing lenses, that kind of thing. As a trainee, which is what I was, you suffer a lot of abuse. And they really put you through the ringer. So they make you pay your dues. To put it mildly. So I did that for 4 years, and some things changed in my personal life, and I realized I couldn't go down that road any longer. So got out of IATSE, thank God, because I needed to make it was rough. And then after that, I got some money from Telefilm in a program called the Talent to Watch program in 2018.
Oh, okay.
A producing partner got $150,000 or something like that to make a feature film.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, I was partnered with the worst, most corrupt partner.
Oh, that's the worst. Okay.
So, unfortunately, our film with Corbeau didn't turn out to my satisfaction for reasons outside of my control. So that was the end of that, and now I'm in development on another film called Scream Queen, based on one of my graphic novels. With
nice.
Who's competent in the producing field, and so things are going well. And I finally got my first Hollywood gig.
Shit!
Writing a Hollywood screenplay. I can't really talk about it too much.
That's awesome, though. Congratulations!
Thank you very much. So it feels good to having had this goal for so long to finally starting to see it come to fruition.
Well, that's awesome, man. The fact that you're juggling two different to juggle something like a film and script and also comics, which are both labor-intensive things. It's impressive. It's got to be because it's two different worlds, right? So it's got to be just draining on a little bit, but super satisfying when that final product.
Well, it's okay. I mean, this is what we signed up to do, and it's work I love. So it's okay to be, it's okay to go to bed at the end of the day and put in a full day's work that you're happy with. So that part's
for
fun.
Sure. It must have been interesting because you said you went to Sheridan. What was it? 2008?
That would have been that was 2012.
Okay. Because it must have been interesting. I mean, it's pure conjecture here on my part, but it must have been interesting going to a film program at that time when so much digital technology was becoming so much more advanced and accessible to the individual. Because I remember toying with the idea of doing films when I was a kid, and I kind of the same way as you. I fell in love with films first, and then got into comics much later. But in school we would do them, and we'd be the VHS camera or the Hi8 camera, and you're lugging this thing around, and you got your limited battery power or whatever it might be, and it was a whole different ball game. But now it's just you could literally film an entire movie with the thing in your pocket.
With the thing in your pocket, man,
So was it interesting to be there that time? Where was there a lot of? Because I know when I went to Sheridan back in '95 to '97, I think were my years, or '93 to '96. I can't remember now, but there was a huge transition because digital was becoming relevant in print. So I was being trained on Photoshop 1.5.
Oh wow.
or whatever it was, but at the same time I was learning stat printing and and how to calibrate for offset. And so I was learning two different worlds. So was it kind of similar like that with the film program as well? Like, were you kind of learning old school and new school at the same time, or was it just still kind of more of a traditional program at that time?
No, we were right on the cusp of the switch over from analog to digital.
Okay.
When we got to school, it was like those Canon DSLRs were like the first, like not the first wave of those Canon DSLRs, but it was.
I remember them though. They were like, but they were expensive but nice, and
yeah. They were the first. They were the first time where it became really affordable for just anybody off the street to pick up a fairly really good camera and make some strong images with them. So we got those, but there was still enough of a demand for film at that point that we still got to learn. Like I shot some of my short films on 16. I shot one on 8mm. I shot one on 35mm. And we had to learn how to like change, film magazines. We learned how to develop film. We learned how to cut on film. So we learned all that analog technology. Although, like realistically, though, it was maybe. I mean, I'm grateful that we got taught those skills, but within like a year or two, they were mechanism. So, and I think they don't even teach any analog filmmaking techniques at Toronto Film School any longer. So I'm really grateful that we got a chance to get in on those old school techniques, but we were like among the last people to learn that stuff.
Yeah. With the animation, I was there for animation in 20. I wish 97 to 99 for animation. They were just starting to come in with the tech. They had the little Wacom camera, so you were technically allowed to film your pages, like page at a time, like a little screenshot of it, and send that as an animation. But we had to actually go and get it filmed properly, like set it up on those old steel things with the camera, press the button, switch the plate out, and then we had to cut it, like you were saying, had to cut the film actually for the sound. And really cool. But man, that's no one's doing that. And they were just coming in with computers and the Wacom thing, like I said. So it was like it's really neat to have experienced that. But it's completely useless unless that's a thing that you want to do for, I don't know, because I know some people film on different types of wide screen with the 35mm or whatever, right? For like, or even people taking photographs are like, I prefer the old style photo. Cameras because there's a certain flavor to it or texture. I don't know about animation though. Like it's the stuff's so good now. It's like
it's much of a difference as it pertains to animation. But I definitely I'm still as as a film fan. I'm still a lover of 35mm film, just because I've often described it thus. You can take there's a difference between, for example, digital painting and something painted in watercolors or oils, for example. Something, to my eyes, there's a certain, and I love digital painting. I do it all the time. That Philadelphia thing, that graphics image.
Oh, that was digital?
That's a digital image.
Oh, shit, nice.
With digital painting. But there's, you can usually tell that it's, there's a certain richness I find when I'm looking at something that was done in oil painting as opposed to something that was done digitally, for example. And that's kind of how I liken digital, digital cinematography to traditional analog cinematography. There's something and I shot one of my short films in school, this thing called Old Rugs, this sort of murder story that we did. And we shot about half of it. It was a 16-minute movie. We shot half of it in digital photography, and we shot the other half in 60mm film. And the look of the 16mm is like we painted in the oils. It's just so rich and deep and thick and beautiful. And the stuff that is shot in digital is very crisp. It's very clean. It's beautiful, but there's a certain kind of pristine brittleness to it that I don't like as much as I like.
It's almost too sterile or something.
It's almost too sterile, exactly. Yeah. So I tend to prefer stuff that's shot on film, just generally speaking. And so I'm just grateful that we at least got a chance to practice some of those techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I think it's kind of like you were saying when you're painting, like no matter how much you paint digitally or whatever it is, it's a pre-programmed algorithm in your brush that's creating a texture.
Absolutely.
And even if it creates a random texture, it still cycles back. Like it's not really random.
Exactly.
Whereas when you're inking or painting traditionally, there is that natural organic process where you might smear paint over here. Because I know like Eric does a lot of painting with like a palette knife, and you couldn't really recreate that on a digital canvas because it would never have that randomness of how the paint interacts with itself and the canvas it's on and whatever. So I could totally see that with film too, with because it's celluloid. It's like something's being by the light is pushing an impression on this organic substance.
Yeah,
it's
not
not
chemical response. It's not ones and zeros. It's an actual physical real world response.
Yeah, so that's as a guy who works, like I do a lot of work digitally these days, but there's the randomness of the physical which I miss.
Yeah, that's exactly it. What's the other thing that I like about, at least as it pertains to what we're doing in comics? I really like just having a piece. I like having a finished piece that I can sell to somebody, I can give to somebody, I can put up in a museum, in a collection, whatever it is, as opposed to something that only exists on a device. There's just there's a quality that comes from something that exists in 3 dimensions that is not replaceable in only 2 dimensions, in my opinion.
I've done like the comic book work I did years ago for Udon. Just strictly pencil work, and I still lug that to the conventions because people sit and they mull over the pencils. They spend so much time like, oh, is this just pencils? How'd you do it? What equipment? Well, you use a pencil and an eraser, right? Yeah. And I'm still really proud of those pieces because they're some of the last things I did pencil wise and actually got published.
Right.
And they're very precious to me. People want to buy them, and I do sell them, but I'm like, I charge a lot of money. I don't want to get rid of them, and I don't it's like to me they're much more worth it.
For sure.
Unless the person is so like, oh my god, I need this. I take a photo of every person that grabs one of my pages, so that I kind of have a catalog of like they have it, they have that one, and whatever. That's just for me, right? Like I don't know.
No, that makes sense, man. I've sold some stuff to some people that I actually kind of regret. And I wish that I had at least kept in contact with those people so I could see how my piece is doing, or if I do like an artist edition or something down the road, at least I'd have access to it through them. But
that's true, right? It's so many things have disappeared over the years, especially when you have such a long career. You don't know where things have gone. You're just like,
they could just put it up on eBay and be done with it.
Yeah, they probably will. Yeah,
not that I have a name that's gonna sell on eBay, but you still are like, you hope it goes to a good home and they love it as much as you do. And then I'm like, okay, I don't mind if you have it because it's going to just sit in my portfolio case. I'm not going to put it, but if you're going to hang it up and you love it, then I'm like, yeah, you know what? You've earned the right to buy it.
You've earned the right. You passed the test, my friend.
You passed the test.
Yeah.
Like Walter Simonson these days, though. I watched a great Walter Simonson interview on Kayfabe a couple of weeks ago.
I just watched that one too. Yep.
I know you did, Ramon. And he talks about how he hasn't sold any of his artwork. It did pretty good, and I didn't really need to sell it, so I hung on to it for since the beginning of my career. So I just picked up a couple of Walter Simonson artist editions.
Yeah.
They made it possible because the guy was good enough about hanging on to his artwork for 40 years, which I think is kind of cool.
It is cool. Like there are certain projects that I've worked on over the years that I've either kept aside a select number of pages that were my favorites, or there's one project I have it's funny. I have every page except the first page. It was the client asked me to gift it to one of their employees who was a big fan, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever, that's cool. But I kept all the other pages are stockpiled away in a drawer. And there's certain things you just can't part with, and It's funny, even though they sit in the drawer, I know they're there, and I can kind of look at them and go, oh, or maybe one day hang them or sell them one day. Who knows?
It's yours because you've still got them.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So how I was waving your book around earlier, the first volume of Godhead here,
Yes.
and this came out in, was it early or mid 2000s?
Summer 2018.
2018. I love that you mix. I don't know if I can really show. You mix both color. You dive into color at the back here, which is really cool.
Well, it started out as a full color book, and then I kind of had to downgrade to black and white. But
was that like a time thing?
well, what happened was, I mean, this is an old story. It originally came out Godhead. Originally, I had the idea around 2002.
I love the. Oh, sorry. Go on. I was gonna say I love the premise.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, me too. I think it's great.
So actually, sorry, before you go on, were these actually originally in color then?
Those are in color.
Oh, interesting. Okay, and then you just gray tone them.
Yeah, I just grade them.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was cutting you off there, but yeah.
No, that's fine. So what happened was, I had always wanted to. I've always been a science fiction fan. As I said, I was a Star Wars guy from when I was a child, and I realized around 2001 or so that I'd never actually done a science fiction comic, not since I was a child. So I thought now's the time. And at that point, I hadn't done anything original for a while. I'd been working on King, and I'd been working on as an illustrator, and I hadn't written anything original for a while in comics. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do a sci-fi comic. And I've always been one of my original heroes was Ralph McQuarrie.
Oh wow! Okay.
Massive Ralph McQuarrie book up on a shelf up there. It's like this ginormous thing. It's got 200 pages of Ralph McQuarrie artwork in it. It's awesome, and I thought now's my chance to kind of do a Ralph McQuarrie style, movie production art style comic book. And I also, majorly influenced by Bill Sienkiewicz and Dave Keane. And I've always wanted, and Richard Corbin, I always wanted to do like a painted book. So I thought now's my chance. So I didn't have a publishing deal at that point. I thought, okay, I'm just going to start working on it because I had pitched it. I pitched it to Marvel. Epic, I should say. They passed. I pitched it to DC. They passed. Dark Horse. Every major publisher I pitched it to, and they passed. And at that point, though, I was still like, okay. I'm surprised that I'm having so much trouble getting it set up, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to start doing the book, and eventually that momentum will carry through to a deal. So I started painting the book, and I was still getting all this rejection. I think the last person I took it to was IDW. And I talked with Scott Dunbier, and he spoke for like a month, and ultimately they passed. And at that point, I painted about 10 pages or so.
Okay.
And it's been incredibly labor intensive.
Well, I bet.
Needless to say. And when you're doing all that much work, you don't have a publishing deal. You don't have anybody to support you. This is before Kickstarter, before Patreon, or any of that. I was so discouraged by all this rejection. I've been in this game for more than a decade. I'm still getting all this rejection. What's going on? And I'm putting all this work into it and getting no financial return. I was so upset. And I threw those pages and that script into a closet, and I didn't look at it again for about 10 years.
Oh no! Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Maybe not about 10 years. Maybe about seven or 8 years.
Still, that's
put it away. And I did charcoal. I wound up doing charcoal. I wanted to go to film school. Getting money after I got out of film school. Ian said, I'll pay you. Do you want to do this comic? I said, no problem. But, man, you are good, brother. You are good. He said, and in doing charcoal, it's been the first time I'd drawn comics in years. And I really kind of felt good about it. I was enthused by it. I was reinvigorated. And I thought, I've never forgotten about this Godhead thing. I still want to do it, even though it's been years that I'm pretending that I'm not thinking about it. I still want to. And I thought, you know what, dude, just do it. But I knew that if I was going to get it done, I was not going to be able to do 300 pages of fully painted comic book art, highly detailed stuff, just financing it by myself.
Yeah.
God, if I want to get this thing done, I've got to do it fast. So I switched over to black and white. And the reason I went grayscale is, well, obviously it was black and white, and I knew it would be, it would give. I don't know. I saw that work as being more than just, not more than as though it's better than, but I saw it as a richer visual experience than just simply doing line work. I wanted to have some tone behind it.
For sure, yeah.
Let me switch over from painted stuff to computer gray tones. So that's kind of how it came about. So that was
okay.
Answer. But yeah.
I mean, the cool part is, I mean, just flipping through.
We got a question here. Sorry, what we got?
Have you seen the Star Wars High Republic comics or books?
I have not. I'm only interested in Star Wars as it pertains to the screen.
Oh, the original film.
Except for Chaykin's adaptation in the 70s.
Oh, the original issues of Marvel.
Yeah, the comic book one. I still love it.
I have those. I do have those. They are awesome.
They're pretty sweet.
The cool thing is, like, I mean, if I'm guessing where the transition happens, I could be wrong, but is this kind of like where the transition happens between going the old pages and the new?
Pretty much. A little earlier, I had painted the first, 5 or 6 pages, and then I skipped ahead.
Oh, okay.
There are 2 sections where it's like painted stuff.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned Chaykin, because I can totally see Chaykin in your work. Like it's just the way you treat the line and the shapes is like I could definitely see him as one of your influences or inspirations, however you want to put it.
Yeah, Chaykin is huge for me.
Yeah, but what I was going to say though is, like, in a lot of Chinese comics and Japanese comics, they'll often have like a color section in the beginning, and then they'll transition to black and white. I think it's just to set the stage mentally for the reader of, like, this is the color of the world. Now we don't need that anymore. We can go into black and white. So if you ever wanted to, you could actually reprint this or do another collection in the future where you actually maybe showcase the color pages, even if they are infrequently, you know.
Absolutely. No, and another thing is, I was a big reader of 2000 AD when I was a kid.
Yep.
They'd often do that. They'd have the first couple of pages in like glorious full color, and then they'd have the rest of it in black and white. No, when we do a collection, we're gonna do those pages in color. And
nice.
Several other pages throughout the book that I'm gonna do in full color. Like part of the inspiration for the stories, I always wanted to do an underwater adventure. I'm really just inspired by the thought of water. And all the pages that take place in the Pacific Ocean, I want to do those in like beautiful blues and greens. So there's going to be a lot of color in the collected book for sure.
Okay, nice. Actually, Sam was just asking, is there can anybody see those color pages anywhere online at all, or are they secretly hidden away in one of your flat drawers at home?
They are. I haven't put them up online. They're in the back of the comic book though, so they're available for anybody to see.
So they are actually just
that's
okay, it's the same pages in the back. Okay.
Yeah,
so they are here. Okay.
Yeah, and but they will be like actual story pages in the collected guide.
Yeah, no, because like your palette, it's so wonderful. You totally sets. For those readers out there, I don't know, for viewers out there, you can tell it just sets that beautiful stage, and like the texture of your whether it's paint or is it charcoal, like Conte or something, or you got a mixed media.
Acrylics, little Prismacolor.
Yeah, you got mixed media here.
Little gouache, bunch of stuff.
I was always that kid who hated changing tools.
Oh, really?
I didn't learn until much later to mix media, basically.
I love it, though.
Which was unfortunate for me.
Did a little digging on you, Jose, because I've never met you in person, so I don't. And so I was like, who are we interviewing? So to kind of did a little deep dive, looked at Wikipedia and stuff, but I was like, so you were born in London, England. It says. You go there a lot. Ever been back or?
I've been back a few times, not as often as I would like. I'm actually planning to go back probably around May or June, go and see some family.
Oh, nice.
Been back for a while. I think it's time in the age of COVID.
Oh God, yeah.
And, before the world is blown up by Putin, I think it's time I went back and had a conversation, went and hung out with some fam.
Yeah. Are you a big traveler? Do you enjoy gallivanting around the world if you can, or?
I'm not a huge traveler. I do enjoy it though. Whenever I
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I do love it. My favorite place is Spain. I got the opportunity just through my work to
Oh wow.
travel all over the world. Thankfully, through King. But the place that I love the most in the world is Spain. I got to travel there 3 times, and ever since I went, I've had this dream of going back there and living, and finally learning Spanish, and
Oh wow.
there and having a great adventure in Spain. So
What part were you in?
I was in Alicante, Madrid, and Barcelona.
Oh, nice. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of those.
I worship Spain. The best food I ever had in my entire life was in Alicante. It was just over the top.
Yeah, that's actually one of the studio members, Danish. His wife is from Alicante, and he just moved back from there to here for over the winter. I guess for his son for school, basically. But it's just I've never actually been. I'd like to go to Alicante. I've been to Spain, but one of these days would love to have like a little villa up there myself, just by the sea.
Brother.
Eric and I always joke. We'll be like just visiting each other on whatever location we live and just drinking a nice whiskey or a scotch by the ocean or something, right?
Oh my God, let's stop talking about it.
I think that's been the hardest part of this entire pandemic for me. It's just been not being able to jump around. Because I would often treat myself to like I used to have a rule of thumb I had for myself was once I could afford to do it, was to discover one new place every year, basically. No matter how small or how big it was, but to still see a part of the world I hadn't been to before, or a different city or whatever it might be. And I was doing pretty good. A couple of years I missed here and there over the years just due to scheduling, but it's now been almost 2.5 since the pandemic began, and it's like, even though I've managed to sneak in a couple trips, it's been like not the same, because before you could just hop on a train or a plane, you go over here, over there, no problem. But now you have to have like proof of a vaccine or a negative thing or what, and you're just like
quarantine time.
Yeah, and you're like, no, I just want to hop on a plane and go. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, for real. Traveling since COVID has been a reality for us. Just in terms of like how are people when you travel? Was it
I mean, my experiences were great. I had no problems. The most annoying parts were, when I did a show in the States, the fact that when I returned, I had to have a negative test within 48 to 72 hours before returning, which I thought was ludicrous because that meant I had to literally get the test the day I arrived in the States because I was only there for a con. And then I had to get the test and then do the convention and then use that test result as my return. So I was just like, this makes no sense whatsoever because I'm literally surrounded by 50,000 people after I get this test. But, that was the law. So I was like, all right, I guess this is what I'm doing.
What you're doing, man.
Do the same for Holland. And I was in there in January. I was there, and you had to do 48 hours here in Canada, and then in Holland, we had to go get it done again, and then because we had a layover in the States. They have their own rules, so it's 24 hours before you fly. And I'm like, so you have to book your flight and then go get your test and prove that you're getting on. I'm like, screw this.
Like while you're in the States?
No. Like I had to do this all in Holland. Like,
okay.
Like, it's just bananas. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, that was actually what happened to me when I went to Chicago. On the way to the States, we had to get like a rapid test, which you could get rather quickly. It wasn't the PCR test. But when I got my information and my tickets, I purchased, I got the test done, negative. I had it with me. And literally the night before I'm checking into my flight, the States had changed the rules where the test had to be done 24 hours in advance rather than 48 hours. So I had to like scramble to get another test because my test had officially become invalid now. Oh. And it was just like, I was like, I don't need this in my day. But yeah, hopefully these things kind of like just disappear over the short course of time as we, things get a little bit better and whatever, right?
I
Doesn't
don't
seem
know.
to be going away.
Nobody's with us to stay.
Oh, and COVID's staying, but just how we deal with it, I think, has to change a little bit for the sanity of travel and all that stuff,
Well,
right?
just sanity.
Just sanity, period.
Sanity in general. So,
Oh man.
yeah, I saw a little clip as well of you being interviewed at the Beguiling there, and you picked up the Frank Miller or the Ronin. Yeah, you were saying that's your thing. Do you have a chance to meet him at all, or?
I've never met Frank Miller. I've met a couple of my heroes. Unfortunately, Frank Miller has not been one of them.
I got lucky at a weird anime show that I was part of with Udon, and they had Frank Miller there, and I got to actually meet him in person.
Oh, nice.
I brought one of my Lone Wolf and Cubs, the small ones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah,
I got him to sign it, and then someone else came in and busted in and took over the conversation. I was like, well, we had a little chat. He seemed actually interested in what I was saying, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm talking to Frank Miller. No way.
He actually.
Someone else took over.
Very warm and engaging guy. I've heard from many people.
Yeah, I'm just this nerd sitting there going, oh, you found my book, and he's like, oh, that's interesting. I really love these covers, and he was like talking to me, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, let's talk more. And then someone just swooped in and took over, and I was like, well, it was good while it lasted. So
I think that he might be in the next year or two might be planning to come to a Toronto show, so you might get the opportunity because I share my agent is also his partial agent.
Right.
So I have to get the lowdown on some of the potential appearances. Amazing. So I think he was here once, not too many. I think maybe 5 years ago, but he might be coming back again, which will be pretty cool.
Well, if he's here in town, hopefully I'll get a chance to meet him finally.
Yeah. Do you do much shows anymore, or have you ever done a lot of like comic shows? Or
I've never really been much of a comics convention or show type of guy. Not because I wouldn't want to do them. It's just I don't go out of my way, try to get into them, and not that many people have ever reached out to me to be a part of them. So,
that's surprising that you
not around Toronto. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because you're always. Well, I mean, the joke is you're always the least famous in your hometown or your local. You know what I mean? But you mentioned earlier that you did a lot of traveling promoting King.
Yeah.
Was that like for shows, or just was that like through your publisher itself, or store appearances, or what was that?
Above.
All of the above. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great when a book can do that for you. That's
absolutely.
Open a few flights.
100%. And the thing is, it got translated a lot. So translated, I got to fly to. That's one of the reasons I got to go to Barcelona, to Spain so often.
Mm-hmm.
Translated there. So I've got to travel a fair bit because of work. So it's been pretty gratifying. I feel like that's it's kind of like one of the best parts of the job, the opportunity to get it afforded to travel the world and meet and engage with so many cool people.
Oh yeah, no, it's I had a bit of luck with a few of my books that did well and were translated, and there were a few years where I was more on a plane than I was in my studio because I was saying yes to everything. I'm like, yeah, what? No problem, I'll show up.
Yeah. I think that's part of the job. If you get asked to do this type of thing, I feel like it behooves us to say yes to it because that's part of the gig as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think because it's a win-win. You get to be somewhere different and interesting, but it's also promoting your work to a whole new audience, basically, a different language, right? And that's never a bad thing, because especially in today's day and age where a lot of people globally can get your work much easier than they could have, say, even like 20 years ago or 50 or 25 years ago.
Yeah, 100%.
So which actually, so I was going to ask because when I was preparing like the stuff for tonight's episode, like you don't have any website or anything. You just have your Instagram, and that's it.
I used to have a website years ago.
Yeah.
I had some issues with it.
Oh, okay.
It was boring to get into. And I really kind of got back into maintaining it.
Okay.
I've just been very lazy about that type of thing. But
it is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but I've realized in the age of social media how valuable it can be. Mm-hmm. So I've made sure that I've maintained some kind of a social media presence. And I kind of feel like in a way, even though you can fall victim to random hackers like I did on my previous Instagram profile.
Yeah.
Where I had like 900 posts and
Yeah.
500 followers, and I kind of viewed it as its own sort of creative project in a way. And I had my own sort of interesting network of people totally gone now.
Yeah.
Kind of rebuild. So even though they're a lot more precarious than a website, I still kind of feel like Instagram and Facebook fulfill a lot of the same
They do
functions as a website. So I don't really worry about it that much.
Yeah.
But it would be smart to have like a dedicated site of that.
It's good that I can't say anything. I have a website, but last time I updated it was probably 10 years ago. But it's something actually on my list. I find in a time where people are like everywhere, I feel like I need to kind of have a home base.
Yeah.
Where people can, no matter, you don't have to sign into something.
Yeah.
To find me, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to look at my Facebook page, you have to be a member of Facebook, or So I'm like, you know what? It might be actually behoove me to actually, brush off the dust off the old website and kind of update it a little bit. And,
yeah, I know what you mean.
And just have a little hub.
Well, we do have the Raid website, right?
And that's true.
That's something, at least. I guess we could always expand that out, right, as more of a hub for all of us. But again, who's going to do that job?
Yeah, exactly.
Not like a Ramón job.
But actually, for those watching, actually, we have your new Instagram in the links below. So let's get those followers back up on your account there.
I just followed you today. I think it's the right one.
Yeah, because that's annoying. Because and the fact is, like, no one knows you've been hacked either on your old account. So it's just people just keep following the old one, thinking. Right. Oh, okay, this is fine. And why is he posting? He's probably taking a break or whatever it is. And, so it's kind of annoying when you have that kind of momentum destroyed by some idiot who just wants to.
He's a real bummer too, man. It's like I'm helping out what I thought was a friend, and it turns out to be some useless hacker. And
no! That's even worse. Oh man!
Powers for good instead of for evil. Like,
come on, man.
Oh no. Oh man! Actually, you had me thinking while you were chatting earlier about your short films. Are they actually available anywhere, like on YouTube or anything like that? Oh, they are, eh?
Yeah, you can find them on. I used to have a YouTube channel. Again, I haven't really updated that in quite a few years. But you type in Jose Anderson on YouTube. I'm sure you'll probably come to my.
Oh, okay. I have to look that up.
Yeah,
I've seen some clips of you and some stuff, but not full things. I think it was you, the actor.
Yeah, I did a thing called I'm blanking on the name, The Assassin, where I got to play a blind assassin from the future.
That's awesome.
It was pretty sweet, man. I remember we were in film school, and I was walking down the hallway between classes one day, and one of my colleagues, a guy I continue to work with, a good friend of mine, he's like, "Hey, man, I got a part. I think you might be right for. Are you interested?" And before he could finish the sentence, I was like, "Yes." Acting, man. I don't know what it is, but I'm not an actor. I'm not very good at it, and it's not anything I've ever really wanted to do. I'm telling you, man, there's something exciting when you get a role, and you can make it your own. And and I was the lead. It was pretty cool.
It is exhilarating.
I was like, I don't know. Maybe I could make a career out of this. I had to prevail, fortunately, but it was a lot of fun, I have to say. And the worst thing was, I've told the story many times. I was playing this assassin from the future, and I was kicking ass. And it took us, a couple of weeks to film this thing. Okay. And after a while, I was starting to take this character out of the set. I was taking this character home with me. I was walking down Dundas. And some dude gave me a shitty look. And I remember thinking, dude, one more look like that, and I'll mess this shit up. That wasn't me thinking that. That was my character, James. I had to check myself. I was like, dude, you're not an actual blind assassin.
That's awesome.
Take it easy.
Oh, my God.
Take me one more look.
That's funny. Yeah. I can see that, though, because, I dabbled a little bit in theater when I was in high school. I did like high school theater and helped. I was actually in some friends' movies as well.
Right.
Because I had a few friends who had access to like the clunky old VHS cameras and stuff, and so I was in a lot of people's projects as well. But it is, like you said, it's exhilarating. But I even find sometimes, like, I don't know if there's a method acting for comics, but sometimes when I dive into comics, like especially if it's like a very like a graphic novel or a comic geared to a specific era or genre or something, I start deep diving on like for example, like I was developing a noir one. I would just watch all these noir movies. I started looking at suits a different way,
Yeah.
and clothing, and I'd be like, maybe I'm gonna buy myself a suit to see how it fits, how it so I could draw, and it just became this whole like method drawing or something. I don't know what it was, but has that happened to either of you guys at all, like with projects? Yeah.
Oh, totally. I always try to lose myself as much as possible in whatever in the material that I'm working on. And that can be dangerous too, because when I was working on King, I especially when I got to the third volume where we're getting to the assassination, the material was so dark and melancholy.
Oh yeah.
And just I could feel the doom because I knew that I was coming up to the assassination, and there was no getting out of it. And there was a certain level of madness, quite frankly, that crept into my mind as I was
interesting
into this material, and it started to play with my brain a little bit. And to be honest, I kind of had a similar experience working on Godhead. Major spoiler alert: everybody dies.
Okay.
I kill everybody. And as I was picking off these characters who I've had in my mind since 2002.
Oh, wow.
It was highly emotional, and I had a lot of time really immersing myself into the concepts that this world kind of hinges upon, and getting as deep into these characters as I could and sort of kill them off has been kind of a mindfuck. So I get very method with my storytelling.
Interesting.
Is there one you prefer over other, like comics, prose, or film? Or is it all the same for you, or is there some that you're like, I wish I was doing this more, I wish I was doing that more? I mean, you're doing a lot, it sounds like, but like,
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Yes and no. I'm more of a natural visual storyteller, so my preference, as much as I love writing prose, I've written some prose novels and thoroughly enjoyed that. But I have to admit, once I'm sort of getting back into the visual storytelling aspect of my practice, that's a little bit easier. Not easier, it's just it's more who I kind of what I naturally am as a storyteller. I guess if I had to choose, it would be more of the comics and the filmmaking as opposed to prose. Between those two, I got to say though, I love them both so much. So what happens is I've spent an extended period over the last year doing mostly comic book storytelling, and I've loved it. I've drawn more over the last year than I have in many a year, and that's been fantastic.
Oh, wow,
and
okay.
I'm coming to the end of it, and I can't wait because I've got this, I've got the movie that I'm developing, and it's just going to be so great to change gears, get away from this space that I've been working in, working with other people, and working with actors, working with cameras, working on a set. So I'm really excited about that. But I'll tell you, once I've been on a set for a month, and I've answered every question, 6 ways to Sunday, and I'm exhausted from getting up at 4:00 every morning. I'm going to be very excited to be cracking on those pages again. So, you know how it is. You always kind of
it's very different. You go from one very insular art form where you're just doing everything to just the most, I guess, socially demanding or extroverted, where you're dealing with so many people. So that is a definite change up, and kudos for you. to handle that.
Really kind of insert, like you said, on one for a few months, and then you can kind of shed that persona and get back out into the world and be extroverted and collaborative, which is awesome.
Yep.
And then once that gets old, you can go back go back to just being the boss entirely. So for me, it's a perfect balance.
Have you ever thought of merging the two and playing an animation at all, or is that something maybe you have done?
I have done a little bit. Well, remember, Ramon, I was going to go to Nova Scotia to work on a film project. That was going to be an animated project.
Oh, okay, okay, interesting.
In the summer of 2009, I got an email out of the blue from the NFB, from the National Film Board of Canada, asking me if I would be interested in directing a short animated piece.
Oh, wow.
My answer was yes. I had grown up watching NFB films.
Oh, yeah.
Thrilled, to get an opportunity to work in animation. I've never been an animator. I've never really considered becoming an animator, but I love animation. I'm a huge animation fan. Mm-hmm. So it was thrilling to get to work first of all with the NFB. You know, I grew up, like I said, watching NFB films, or the Canadian institution, which I've always loved. Mm-hmm. And it was great kind of getting my feet wet doing like a 2-minute animated film. You know, I didn't do the animation, but I designed all the shots and I designed all the characters. And I did like little bits of animation here and there, just like not animation, but if I wanted a shot to start here and end there, I would do like keyframes essentially.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah.
That's actually how I should describe it. I did a ton of keyframes for this film.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and I was hoping to do more of it. I'm still hoping to do more, but this second project unfortunately didn't come together.
Oh, that's a shame that didn't come together. That would have been, cause just looking at your style, I could see like just being animated so interestingly, just because you have a very graphic, sharp, angular kind of. Yeah, it could. I mean, especially as like the classic NFT stuff from NFB, National Film Board stuff.
What?
Yeah, from like the ones that we grew up on here. What was it like the log dancers song or whatever?
That's gold. Came Back is another big one. Yeah,
there's so many. I remember. I actually have the app on my Apple TV, and I often dive in every so often, and just it's amazing how a lot of these things just still hold up because they're so unique,
man,
and interesting. They're strangely timeless in their style and approach and creativity.
Yeah, they really are. I could still hear that logging song.
That was like on every channel whenever I was a kid.
Thanks, Eric.
It just never stopped.
That is a sick weapon, by the way.
Yeah, what are you drawing there?
All this art's for my good friend Sheldon Carter, who did we did a Kickstarter. Is To Steal the Sun, his first prose, his first novel, his fantasy novel. So
awesome.
I offered to help him out with some of the illustration work. So this is just 3 pinups I'm doing as part of the Kickstarter campaign. So I got to finish them though.
You got time. The book arrives in, I think, 10 days, Eric, so...
Well, I got about 30, 40 days. That's cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Lots of time. No problem.
Feel the pressure, man. Let that pressure become your friend. That's what I'm talking about.
Pressure become my friend.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I remember we did a lot of camping, and they would always, when we were younger, and so they'd have these, like, film nights there.
In the park.
It's not animation, so maybe this is a bad segue. But anyway, it talked about this this craft. Someone made like a little wooden canoe, and it traveled along the stream, and it went to this like logging area, and you just traveled forever. And it was this really beautiful Canadian film about this tiny little carved canoe.
Oh, cool.
And that's it. When you were talking about the logging song, I thought that was the film, but it isn't.
Oh, okay.
So familiar.
Yeah, the NFB is actually like has done some cool stuff. Like when I was doing some research, like they did a whole thing featuring Buster Keaton traveling across Canada, just promoting Canada. So he's literally riding the rails, but it's like a Buster Keaton who must be like 70 or 80 years old.
Of all people.
There you
but
go.
Yeah, it's such a weird choice.
The paddle to the sea.
There you go. Rob finds it all.
I loved it. I love that.
You're on top of things, brother. It's very impressive.
Oh man. Oh, there's so many cool. So many, I mean, yeah, it's such a great. I feel when you have a visual eye, you can jump around, and it's even easier now, obviously. But jump around, try different art forms, and you know, and scratch that itch as you're doing so well. What I was gonna ask, just out of curiosity, as you're working on Godhead, I keep seeing your templates on your Instagram page where you're like all your grid of how many pages left to go. It's like a prison. It's like the guy scratching X's in his walls, but reversed.
Yeah, I saw that. It's behind you.
But do you, when you work on this stuff, like, are you, being you're such a visual storyteller, do you write full scripts, or do you kind of more storyboard? So so you do actually do like a full script treatment, basically.
Yeah. I got my script for chapter 4 right here.
Oh shit! Okay.
It's 57 pages.
Oh, okay.
I write like a full script, stage direction, dialogue.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I'm, an artist and a visual storyteller, I'm also very much a writer.
Yeah.
And I'm not. It always kills me when I hear writers talk about how much they hate writing. What's that all about? Or they
what?
they really hate the blank page. Like, that stuff is mystifying to me. I'm always like, if you don't like it, what are you doing it for?
That seems like a weird one there.
Weird one. I hear it all the time.
I feel like artists in general and creatives, we're all a little weird. We have our own little things that we think about. Because I know I hear the same thing. It's like, oh, the blank page is the scariest, and I guess it is at some points. But I also see it as opportunity, right? Like, oh, what can I make? It's all me, and so it's like, I guess it's all about perspective. Like, how do you treat that, right?
I mean, I think. Listen, I totally can understand being intimidated by the blank page. I feel that way all the time. Although, weirdly, I only ever feel like that as an artist. For example, I spent today. I'm working on this huge cityscape, glass. We're doing the main city of the story, and we're kind of coming back to it. So I'm drawing this sort of introduction.
Oh, nice!
Coming back to the city.
Toronto.
How does that work? There we go.
So the gardener's still up in the future. This is good.
Where's the CN Tower? CN
Tower. There it is. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
The gardener.
But so I spent. And I have to say, approaching that, knowing that I'm going to be sitting there drawing buildings all day long, that's intimidating. So
yeah, that is a lot, especially landscapes like that is overwhelming.
Exactly, big complicated landscape like that. That can be a bit much, but in terms of the intimidation factor. But when I approach a blank page for a script, I get really excited about that. Knowing that I get to fill it up with words, and so no, I'm very much a full script type of guy.
Okay. This actually might be a good segue, or in my head, a good segue to chat about the story you did in Raid 4, because you collaborated with you said your old friend Ian Daffer, and you mentioned that as one of the first things you did after a long hiatus.
Yeah.
But the interesting part was, and I'm not sure if you diverged a lot from it, but you actually didn't lay out the book, or Kalman Androsovsky apparently laid out the original storyboards or the panels for the book, and you took that over. Was that just because Kalman didn't want to do it anymore, didn't have time, and you came in and kind of took over the project from him, or?
Yeah, I think Ian had gotten a deal with Tor. I forget.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
The Tor thing.
I remember that era. Yeah.
I think Kalman just ran out of time. I think he was just busy.
Yeah,
he was still doing a lot of covers for DC and Marvel at that point, probably, and I think he just got really busy.
Mm-hmm.
And Ian just said, "Hey, man, Kalman's a little slammed right now. Are you interested in doing the gig?" And I need some money.
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll take on that."
How was working over someone else's storytelling layouts? And did you follow them closely, or did you kind of use them as cues more than an exact template?
No, I followed them pretty closely.
Okay.
I really had a lot of fun doing that. I mean, I had the option if I'd chosen to just throw those aside and do my own layouts. But first of all, I love Kalman's stuff. I've always been a fan of his. So it was for me, it was an exciting opportunity just to kind of live in the world of another artist that I admire.
Yeah.
So that was fun, and a lot of the work had been done. Like, why they're done for me? I'm not an idiot. I'm not gonna do work I don't have to do. So I was excited to do that. So I just kind of did it as a collaboration between me and Kalman. Actually, I had the layouts in a sketchbook. I'm just not sure where that sketchbook is. I don't want to wait 10 minutes looking for them, but
it's okay.
Yeah, if you look at them, you see that they're fairly close to what.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
I knew it was still going to look like I did it, regardless.
Oh yeah, it's very much your like. I don't see Kalman there at all. Like, it looks like totally your thing.
Right.
But it's interesting to know that he did the layouts for that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, he did very nice, like simple little, like thumbnails. They're basically thumbnails.
Oh, okay.
So they're not super detailed, but they have all the action very clearly laid out.
Yeah.
And the page designs are very clear. So I just took what he did and translated into my language, and a lot of fun.
Was the now this story I love it for another reason is because I love when people play and mix black and white and color and like play with the palette of a. Was that your choice, or was that something that was in the script already? Ian put in or something, or?
I don't remember that being part of the script. I think that was my thing. I've always like you. I've always loved that when you get to mix black and white and color. So I just saw that as a very obvious opportunity to do that, given that it was about an artist and a painting was going to be central to the story.
Yeah, because it just pops that when that moment builds, you have that element, and you're like, "Oh, this is cool."
Yeah, I kind of like that element to myself.
And I like how and this was this something you were because it looks like I mean, I could be wrong, but was it done? The black and white done digitally, or was that all? Is it all traditional, basically?
No, I always do my comics on boards.
Oh, okay.
We never. I mean, I color them, and I do the Godhead gray tones in or Procreate a lot these days.
Oh, okay, interesting.
In terms of, the actual pages themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I just I saw a Frank Miller interview about maybe 2 months ago, and he talked about how it took me 20 years or whatever the hell. It took me 10 years to get good learning how to use a pen nib and a brush. I don't want to just give that up.
Yeah.
These skills are hard platform, man. So,
that's true, actually. That's true.
You know what I mean? So I still get a charge out of using a mechanical pencil and using my $5 brush from Curry's and my my Hunt 107 and my bottle of Speedball ink.
You use a 107, so it's a stiffer nib.
Yeah.
That's
all these old traditional techniques, man. And I love at the end of it that I've got this huge piece of original comic book art.
Yeah.
That I can hold on and panels
oh shit.
And, cover
oh wow.
Oh no, I kind of gave away a little bit of the story.
I get it. I miss I often worry I feel like it might be riding a bike, but I often worry the day I go to pick up a brush again, and which will be for another project I'm working on very soon. So I feel like I hope I haven't lost the finesse of the skill that I earned.
I don't think so, man.
You know what I mean? I hope it's like riding a bike, basically.
I think so. Yeah. I read an interview with Howard Chaykin years ago, and he had gone away. This is when he came back to comics after being a television writer for 14 years.
Okay.
And he was coming back with a book called Mighty Love. It was a superhero.
I have that one. Yep, I remember that one.
The superhero romance comic, essentially. And he said, I was really nervous because I hadn't drawn anything in 14 years. I didn't know if I was going to still be able to do this at all. And he said when he came back, his skills were as sharp, if not sharper, than they had been in the preceding years. So I suspect Ramon's going to be just...
That's crazy. I worry. I
understand. I think that's a very valid concern. But after the page of the nervous stuff.
Yeah, I think I just need to kind of brush it up a little bit, and eyesight gets worse. I'm like, oh god,
Dude, I started using me turn this off.
Oh, the magnifying. Awesome.
That's not what it used to be when I was 20, man. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I used to have one of those. I think I gave it to my dad because he used it for working on fine electronics. He loved it.
Gotcha.
But maybe I should steal it back because that's not a bad idea.
You don't need it working digitally. Like that's one of the best things about working on the screen. But
yeah.
I gotta say, I used to be able to like get the page and like do this, be like right up close to the page.
Yeah.
And now I can't do that anymore, man. Now it's it's the fuzzy lines when I do it.
Oh, so you're opposite. You're farsighted. You can see better far away.
No, I am nearsighted.
Okay.
But only to a point.
Oh, okay.
So once we start getting like too close to the face, then it
blurs out a little bit, kind of. Yeah.
I see I've frozen there.
Well, I'm frozen.
I am.
Oh,
it looks like
you're good. Oh, you're good.
You look good.
Oh, you're just on your end, I think maybe.
On my end,
Yeah.
I don't want to look
you
at my mug anywhere.
You maybe actually you triggered a thought in my head, and I was trying to. Oh, I lost it now. But oh well.
You speak a lot about film. Is there any movies you've seen recently or that caught your eye? Is there something you want to watch?
The last few films I've seen were I saw the Batman last week that I loved. I thought that was a masterpiece.
I love it. I thought it was great.
It was so good. And it's actually kind of the first superhero movie I've seen in a while. I was taking a serious superhero break because I was getting burned out in the films, man. I've seen every single one of them and I kind of hit a wall. So I've seen it about 6 months or so. So previous to that, I saw West Side Story was the one I saw right before that, and just before that, I saw Spencer, that Diana film, which I loved. I thought that was magnificent.
I don't know that one, Spencer.
I think that's on Amazon Prime. My wife wanted to watch that, so
it's a really good film. I took my mother to see it, and we both really enjoyed it. And it was nice it's just nice to see an adult movie again, man. You know, a lot of costumes, and I love the costumes. I enjoy the costumes. No, nothing against the costumes, but. I grew up watching films that were for adults, about adults, and I missed that era. Big blockbuster was like people in a room talking, like I miss that.
I'll have to check that out. What did you think of the West Side Story?
I love West Side Story. Nice. Yeah, Spencer is a masterpiece in my opinion. I love West Side Story. I'm a big fan of. The Robert Wise, 1961 version, I think, whatever year that came out. I was a major fan of that soundtrack when I was a kid. And when I saw that movie, it's like it was one of the first films that I cried at when I was a little kid. So it's always had a real resonance for me.
Okay.
And, Spielberg's Spielberg. I mean, he's one of the goats. So that movie and his, like, at first I was like, there's no reason to remake this film.
Yeah,
musicals aren't quite where they used to be back in that era, and that movie is perfect the way it is. I didn't feel like you needed it, but if anybody was going to tackle that project, I thought Spielberg would be the guy to do it.
Okay, interesting because I didn't know there was a previous version. I'll have to check that out.
Oh man.
I knew there was a play. I'd seen the play growing up, but I didn't know there was another film version.
Wise, I think it was 1961. It's got Richard Beymer as the main character, Tony, and Natalie Wood is playing a Latin woman, which is a little much, but
okay.
So she's good in the role, in my opinion. So.
I just thought I like the Spielberg ones visually looked very pretty, but I thought for me the Tony character felt very flat.
Yeah, I don't like that actor at all. I think I actively dislike him, and I don't like the guy. And his recent history is also a little troubling. And but
I didn't know anything about that. But
black hole. Sorry, say again.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know he had a bit of a what do you call it? Is there politics surrounding the actor?
Yeah, he's got some. Well, it's less political and more sexual.
Okay. I didn't know about that.
Maybe got some issues. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't really like that guy.
Yeah. I feel like he's. I mean, I saw him in Baby Driver, and even in Baby Driver, I was like, I liked everybody else in the movie but him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The guy who drove the car?
The
guy who drove the car?
Yeah, the guy who drove the car, yeah.
Elgort, I believe, is the actor's name.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan, but it's just me. I'm sure he's not
Yeah.
a fan of me.
He must have a good agent though. He keeps getting work.
He's
So
getting work, man. So he's doing something right.
yeah. Oh man.
Hey,
Would
and
you?
the funny thing about that movie, actually, one of the guys, I worked with an actor named Miles Ehrlich.
Okay.
When I was during like my second year in IATSE, I worked on a show called The Next Step. It was a dance show. It was sort of like a fake reality show set in a dance academy.
Okay.
And Miles Ehrlich was one of the dancers, one of the leads on the show. Terrific guy, really charismatic dude. Who's one of the stars, one of the Jets in Spielberg's West Side Story, but Miles Ehrlich. I've been waiting for this kid to break out.
Oh, which one was he?
Sorry, he was he's one of the gangs. He was one of the gang members, one of the Jets.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I couldn't say he's this guy or that guy. He was just one of them. But
okay.
Very cool just to see somebody that I knew in a Spielberg film.
That is pretty cool,
To break out like that, like finally, like doing his thing on a grand scale like that. That was pretty cool. Miles Ehrlich. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I think I recognize his face from the film. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Great guy. Really nice kid.
The Next Step, and there's the other thing. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Oh, he's also in We Are Not Here. Oh my God, I saw that movie.
I'm not familiar with that one.
That is, I watch a channel by this other Canadian YouTuber. It's called Weird Movies with Mark, and I guess the director, he's kind of one of these auteur directors who kind of funds and makes his own films, but the quality of them are as like they rival that of The Room.
Okay.
With so like they're just astounding to watch. So I just saw like in the credits of your friend there that was in one of them, and I'm
oh man, I'm gonna watch them.
They are like one of those like so bad but they're so entertaining to watch, and you're like, and he's made like 5 of these films. I can't remember the director's name offhand, but they are just like yeah, like I said, they rival The Room for the quality of acting and cinematography and all that stuff.
Oh, hi, Ramon.
Oh, what?
Room is one of the best.
Oh yeah.
There's my remote. There's my.
That was a good. It's weird because I thought that came from somewhere else. It's like, what was? Oh man. Oh yeah. But that's cool, man. Do you have you said you're doing some writing for some Hollywood work, and I know it's very hush hush, but do you have ideas or aspirations to do like larger, I guess I don't want to use the term blockbuster because that's not what I mean. It's like larger funded films, like it's larger budget motion pictures. Is that something you'd want to actually aspire to if you could do like your own, whether it be like your own 12 Angry Men or something like that, like a nice big yeah. And do you have ideas like that? Do you have a little black book with you're like, okay, this is or do you
ideas?
You probably have a billion ideas.
What are you talking about? That's all I got. No, yeah, for sure. No, I want to take the filmmaking as far as I can. I really want to be like 50-50. I love that the piece you're working on, by the way. That's incredible.
Oh, thanks.
That's very cool.
No, that's really nice. I want to go as far as I can with the comics, and I want to go as far as I can filmmaking. So, if I could have an opportunity to, excuse me, it's always been my goal to work on the studio level. As a director. So if I get an opportunity to go down that road, and not even like to be like fancy auteur, like if a studio said, "Do you want to direct filmettes?" I really want to work in that system and see that Hollywood machine.
Yeah,
I've seen it as an outsider, not as an outsider. I've seen it on the camera team.
Yeah,
in action, and it's incredible. So I would love to be able to utilize those resources for a story that I was telling.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So absolutely, yeah. I want to take this as far as I can. Now, with that opportunity, that's something else entirely. Because filmmaking is very tough.
Oh yeah, no, it's like,
but but as far as I can go with it, that's as far as I am.
Yeah, I mean, you have some interesting journeys. Like I'm a big fan of Taika Waititi, like in how he kind of just started out doing these like indie films and just kind of grew, and then I'm not sure if it was the Thor movie or what movie it was that kind of put him on the larger scale map, but there's always that one trigger point, that one movie that gets you noticed by the higher ups, if you will.
That this also was a beautiful piece, by the way. I think you guys are extremely talented. I think it's probably the Thor movie that really kind of was his breakout, but I think he became. So I was getting lost in Europe. I think he became very prominent after that vampire film he did, wasn't it?
What We Do After Midnight, or no, What We Do in the Shadows. That one. Yeah, that one's great. That one's awesome.
We're werewolves, not werewolves. One of my favorite lines.
I love that. I haven't actually watched the TV show yet. I've checked that out.
I haven't seen that yet,
but the movie I love.
I'm a massive fan of Ragnarok. I think that's probably my favorite of those Marvel movies, to be honest.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Infinity War was. I love Infinity War.
I'd be hard pressed to which one Yeah, that was so good. I love what's his name in that. I'm blanking. It's the guy on the top left. I'm blanking on the guy's name.
Oh yeah, he's from the song guys. What are they called?
Oh man, my brain's not working. But there's a great movie with him in it. I can't remember the title, where he is an author down on his luck after his second book or his first book, and he steals like a teenager's like some teenager's like, hey, you want to check out my book? And he's like, yeah, whatever. And he ends up stealing it from the kid. And it's like this sci-fi. It's hilarious. Like that guy is just
Jermaine,
his sense of humor is just my favorite. Oh my god.
Flight of the Conchords is some of the best shit I've ever.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
Hippopotamus.
Have you ever spent any time in LA or New York trying to work in the American industry, like the side of film, or is it more just being working up here?
Yeah, it's been here so far. I want to, as soon as our next film is done, Scream Queen, that I want to use to, because I was hoping to do that with the last film I did, Le Corbeau. It turned out so disastrously because of that douchebag producer I was involved. But this one, I feel like this one's going to turn out a lot better than that one did. And I want to use that one to hopefully get some work down south. But as yet, I haven't, no.
No way.
But I mean, this Hollywood gig is a pretty good entree into that world.
Oh no, like anything. Yeah. Find even now, like from what I've heard from people, Hollywood still very much these days has been full of Zoom meetings and the digital realm. Like the physical. The physical networking hasn't really come back yet, from what I've heard from a few people. Yeah. So some people are like they're like, it doesn't even matter to go down quite yet because it's still like all over Zoom meetings, and so you're not missing out at this point. But it's a perfect point to kind of once you do have your stuff done, to try to actually get it in people's hands and
absolutely
and stuff like that, right?
6 months ago, we were doing this project is for a film. But it started out, we were pitching on it for a TV show.
Okay.
And, so we did about 3 weeks of just nonstop pitching. I was just pitching constantly.
That is a work, man.
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun, I have to say. Like kind of getting in the room with these executives, but getting some time with these executives and trying to engage them, because you have a very limited window in which to excite these people about their project that you're trying to get money out of them for. And I really kind of enjoyed that challenge. But it was just one Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
it was absolutely exhausting, but pretty good experience.
Yeah. Actually, this is a quick, just occurred to me as you were chatting here, because I find in our industry, in comics, I mean, so many people are trying to make comics to pitch as movies. Have you ever used your art skills to storyboard like your pitches? Like, do you use that as to your advantage, basically?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, man. Every tool that we have to try to sell the stories that we're doing. I will use absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It's a pretty effective quiver in my arrow in my quiver. So I
oh yeah, for sure.
Not every chance I get, and not only the storyboards, but also concept art. all the film projects that I've worked on, I've always done 1 or 2 pieces of concept art for them.
Okay.
So yeah, man, being an artist is a very valuable tool if you want to be a director.
Thanks.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many guys. Like, I mean, I've read over the years. Like, I think it's. I mean, Spielberg started out in the effects shop, or not? Sorry, Spielberg. James Cameron. Sorry, James Cameron.
And David Fincher did as well.
Yeah, and then like I think Lucas almost went into illustration before he went into film.
Yeah.
So like it just they're just basically choosing their visual voice and kind of running with it. But it's cool that and you're a prime example of how you can do both. Where you can that skill set just is there, and it's like you want to tell a story. What's your outlet for that story? Whether it's a comic book, graphic novel, or film.
And I think the other good thing about if you want to be a director, about being if you want to be a director, being an artist, is it cuts down so much in communication time with your director of photography.
Oh, I bet.
There's a guy that I'm going to be working with who's going to be shooting our next film, and one of the reasons that we kind of bonded creatively was because my vision for what I wanted to do with this film was so clear through the storyboards that I've drawn and through the concept art that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that he was not going to have to do all the heavy lifting in terms of the visual presentation of the film.
Okay.
I was somebody who actually had a visual sense and could communicate that visual sense. So it's extremely valuable tool. I would encourage anybody out there who's interested in getting into filmmaking on a director's level. If you're not an artist yourself, I would highly encourage you to try to develop some artistic skills of your own.
Okay.
If you can't do that, I would highly encourage you to hook up with somebody that you can work with on a regular.
Yeah.
You have some kind of creative simpatico with. You can kind of visualize what you're after, because I'm telling you, it makes all the difference presenting somebody with a storyboard as opposed to a shot list.
Yeah, that's true. I can totally see that.
It really cuts out a lot of ambiguity across multiple disciplines. Costumes, editing.
Oh, I bet.
Well, it's the best communicator of an idea, right? Like
100%.
I do concept art for video games, and I have an idea. I tend to storyboard it. I draw the idea or I concept it, then I storyboard like a cinematic, just to kind of like I got to tell the whole story. And outside just a drawing, I like to kind of present the idea as a whole. I get excited about it. I get to be a little bit of a cinematographer and a bit of a director, and then I also think it strengthens my idea. And I find a lot of times I have a lot more success with that approach, other than just posting a beautiful piece of, not that they're beautiful, just a nice piece of work, and people being like, "Oh, that's really cool," and it's like, "Wow, here's the next layer. Here's like that next level of like, here's what I envisioned for this piece," and everyone just gets on board. They're just like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." Whether it goes anywhere or not, it doesn't matter, but they at least understand the idea better.
Yeah, it puts everybody on the same page immediately.
You're talking with programmers, you're talking with like other departments that aren't necessarily in the visual field. Right. And so everyone understands like storyboards and comics. That's what's so great about the power of panels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly, 100%.
No, it's true.
You actually said something there. You were just talking about some tips about getting an artist, and that's another thing. I kind of wrote down some questions. I'm like, you have any advice for up and coming? Because like, it sounds like you kind of dabbled in everything, which is fascinating. Like, I love that you did journalism, and then you get into film, and then you're doing comics. Like, what are some, for any of the fans watching or any up and comers? What are some tips or stuff that you wish you knew going like back then? You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's such a great question. That's a great question, because I'll tell you, there were many things that I did in my career that let's say, do I regret them or not? I'm trying to decide whether I regret these things or not. Well, what I'm trying to say is this: when I started out, I wish that I had been more focused on envisioning the kind of career I wanted overall, and kind of taking steps to sort of realize that career, and being a little less experimental. Here's what I mean. when I started out, I started out doing porno comic. I'm quite proud of. And, and then after that, I got really kind of, even though I did King after that, I went through a long period where I was doing a lot of really kind of experimental comics, really kind of learning in public. And I wasn't really, and I was really inspired by like stuff by like Eight Ball, Hate, which weren't massive sellers, but were highly acclaimed books and were highly idiosyncratic and individualistic books. And what I took from that was a desire to really experiment and throw every like weird notion that I had out into public. And as a result, I kind of developed a body of work that was, in some ways, it was very eclectic, but not very cohesive. And because it was so like recklessly experimental, I put all of my mistakes out there. And and a lot of the stuff, like I kind of admire people like I watch cartoonist Kayfabe a lot, and Jim Rugg and Ed Piscor talk a lot about being students at School of Visual Arts, I believe it was, and in that environment, they got the opportunity to do all that experimental stuff in a kind of a safe little cocoon with all their fellow students, and get that stuff out of the system, and then you know what I mean? Like come out into make the published stuff. It was like strong work. Yeah. And I did the opposite, right? I did a book called Pop Life early in my career, which was wildly experimental and totally undisciplined and not good. It was not good. I mean, I got so much issues. It got canceled, and it kind of hurt me. So I'm not really good at giving advice, and take advice with a grain of salt, because what works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for the other. So
that's true.
The only thing I would say is, if you have any desire to have like longevity in this or any other field, let's stick with comics for the time being. If you have a desire to have longevity, I would be really just careful about the work that you're putting out when you're starting out and when you're building your reputation, because you can only build your reputation really once. You can refine it on the road, but I mean, once people kind of have an impression on you, they got an impression on you. So you want them to have the right impression. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah,
so,
that's true. Yeah.
Take that advice. Do that what you will, but I would. That's one thing I would talk about with somebody starting out. Just refine.
And that can also be said for just even how you conduct yourself and how you interact with people too in the industry, right?
Absolutely, Ramon. Because that's the other thing. Sometimes I was very. Not very political in my presenting my opinions, and sometimes I was very blunt, where I should have been more tactful. Tact in my old age, but as a young guy, I was full of a lot of piss and vinegar, and if you upset me, I'm not going to hold back telling you, and that also hurt me.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've been there, because I went down a little bit of that path too when I was like just so immersed in work for a while. It just became, sometimes I mean, obviously you learn from your mistakes and stuff like that, but sometimes you're just like, I could have handled that better now that I look back on that situation.
Oh yeah,
and, being a little bit more political or polite or whatever it might be, right?
Exactly.
What?
More professional. Many of those I would like to go back and
Yeah, I agree with the reputation thing. I mean, I started with Udon Comics, and just I had a lot of like I felt like I deserved cover work, and I'm like, I hadn't even done anything, and and then I would do these. I'd get projects, and I just kind of phone them in, because I'm like, no, I want to do something that's like important. I just kind of like just phone it in, and that just follows you. It just follows you. Like people don't take you seriously. They think that's your level of professionalism, and not to some degree that was. So, and that sucks. It kind of stung for a while. So,
yeah, I mean, the good thing is though, I think, I mean, hopefully, if something like that does actually happen, hopefully people can look past it, and I know
I think we lost him.
Oh, we might have. Hoche's gone. Man down.
Yeah.
It's slowly coming
What
back
are you
here.
doing, Ramon? What are you working on there?
Same piece I was working on last week. Just trying to chip away at this thing and make it done for kind of like a little promo piece for Kookaburra.
Nice.
You know, I wanted to start kind of promoting my stuff again and getting it out there.
You gonna have it for Toronto Con or anything? Or?
No. This is for down the line for the campaign, the Kickstarter, brushing myself with the characters, that sort of thing. So more just a fun piece in general, basically. You know. But yeah, so
31,000 we hit. Woohoo!
Oh, nice! That's
Thank you, everybody. That's
amazing.
amazing.
I am honestly blown away by this campaign. Like the goodwill people have shared with us, and because our previous campaigns crested, like we went higher than this, but they was closer to the end of the campaign. You know what I mean? And now it's to see us still almost in the early days. We've only been doing this for a week, and to get this high in a week has been great. So hopefully we can, just get more coin to make this book just even better and get money in the artists' pockets as well for all the people who contributed.
Yeah. No, it's really exciting to see this. It reinforces the dreams we've had. The many times we sit and talk in the restaurants over a beer and like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to do this? Oh yeah, we plan to, and it's easy. It's so easier said than done. Like
it's a hustle, but it's so worth it.
It is a monumental amount of work, but it is so worth it. There he is.
Back.
Whenever I see my computer's been having some issues, sometimes that just stops. It just goes away, and then it takes this long to get it back up. So
man,
it's all good.
It's all good. Things happen. Technology is a fun little ride.
Oh, isn't it?
We had a nice little update for our Kickstarter during that, so we're like, oh, here's a chance to talk about it.
And we're so honored to have you in this book, man. You just, I'm glad to share your work and everybody else's work in this book out there. So it's amazing, and it's such a unique platform. Like, I don't know if you've dabbled in it a lot, because I know a lot of filmmakers actually also use it as a way to kind of fund their films as well, right? So it's just such a great thing that creators now can actually build their own things without a big corporation in between them and their product, right?
Exactly.
And whether it's a film or a comic book, it's just so cool to see this stuff, be able to do this, even for that matter. You know what I mean? It's just like
100%.
It's awesome.
And next stretch goal is secret, Sarah. Sorry.
What?
We'll find out tomorrow. I think.
We gotta figure that out. That's a discussion later tonight.
No answer.
Yeah.
There
we go.
Here's a good question for you there.
This one from Sam Noir. He says, Hoche, did you feel like you were part of the Fantagraphics indie movement of the 90s? The oral history book is fascinating.
Yeah, that book is awesome. I love that book.
Oh, I don't know that book. I have to check this out.
Yeah, hold on. It's called, I just happen to have a copy right here. It's called We Told You So. It's a beautiful, thick
Oh, wow.
oral history of Fantagraphics.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's an awesome book.
I have That's
Nice.
cool. I have to pick that up.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Did I feel like I was part of the indie comics boom of the 90s?
Or movement, he said.
Not really, to be honest with you. I really
Okay.
admired a lot of the books that were coming out. I wanted to be a part of that movement. I just never really felt like I was. I've always, my entire career, I've always felt like a real outsider. I always felt like I was banging on the ramparts, man. Let me in. And they've always said no. So, I mean, to bring it back to recent stuff, like it took me forever to finally get Marvel to pay any attention to me. They finally pay attention to me, and then they cancel my book.
That was astounding. Yeah, that was
really stunning. So I've even to this day, I still feel like I'm an outsider. Still like trying to get. Sorry, my cat wants to go one sec.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, I know that feeling.
You're not an outsider. You're not an outsider at the Raid Studio.
No, doors always open here.
Yeah, I appreciate that, fellas.
Yeah, no, I feel you actually, because I always feel like I've never, even though I know like so many people in the industry and have a lot of great friends. I never felt like I feel like there's this inner clubhouse in comics.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like one room outside, or maybe two. You know what I mean? Like and maybe it's my personality. Maybe I'm my own worst enemy. I just don't like jumping through hoops and ass kissing too much. And not to say people who get in those places are those people, but it's just like, I mean, it's also like when you go to cons, like I think a lot of these relationships are formed at cons and events and socializing.
The social aspect, 100%.
You know what I mean? And, if you're in New York or whatever, or something like that, it's easier to get into these things.
That's just it. Yeah. I mean, if I was, maybe going to more conventions here in Toronto, I'd maybe feel like a little bit more of an insider.
Mm-hmm.
And, like that whole scene. But I'm exactly like you. I'm not that much of a joiner, first of all. And, maybe it's a similar thing. Maybe my personality is too abrasive to make me popular with whoever I need to be popular with. But whatever. That's cool.
Yeah.
My bills are getting paid. It's all good.
I think that's what I love about Raid is we're trying to make our own thing, and because I think we have such a collection of like individuals who've got different jobs and different aspects of work and art and stuff, and it's like, let's just make our own. We're going to publish our own stuff. Let's just do our own thing, and maybe be a little bit different, and let people in.
Yeah, maybe let people in.
That'd be nice.
What are you saying out there, Eric? No, don't put it out there.
No, I mean, no one can come in. Sorry.
No, that'd be cool. Like I often wish I was like you. I guess you grew up here, were you in Toronto the whole time, or were you more like, yeah? So like I grew up in the burbs in the country, so I never really got to experience the city till I moved here when I was 25. But I haven't looked back since. But I often like read about this era of because what was it? Was it Vortex that was in Toronto?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like Montreal has Drawn and Quarterly, and like I feel like it would have been so cool to be in this like era of the city when you had these small kind of indie publishers around here creating stuff. And it's kind of sad that we don't have that in Toronto, being that we have such a creative hub here. Like there are a couple that have come and gone, like Speakeasy had Chapter House, but I feel like they were different beasts back in the 80s and early 90s. They were creating different kinds of material that these companies aren't creating, if that makes sense.
Totally. I gotta tell you, I really miss the Toronto comic scene of the mid 80s. It was really exciting. Like when I first started to break in, I was around 14.
Oh wow!
Mentioned Vortex Comics.
Yeah.
They had their first offices were on Spadina. They were at like 96 Spadina in a building that is still there. It's called the Darling Building.
Okay.
And I think they're on like 4th or 5th floor or whatever. And I remember taking my stuff up there, 14 years old, terrible artist. It was so exciting just to like be in like a real place where they produce comics.
Yeah.
And then I went back again a couple of years later. I was a little bit better. 1986.
Mm-hmm.
They had offices on Sumac Street, Sumac and Queen.
Okay.
A little brownstone there, and I remember like going in, and that's when I started to hang out with the Vortex crowd for a couple of years. I was up there like every couple of weeks or so, showing them new work and just hanging out.
Yeah.
And I met Seth there, and I met Chester Brown there, and I met
nice.
a bunch of other interesting cartoonists. And the Toronto scene in that era was really, really exciting, man. It was really funky.
Mm-hmm.
It was really creative. It was really inspired by what was going on, like musically at that point. Kind of English New Wave was a big thing back then, and that really kind of affected the Queen Street scene. Mm-hmm. In the mid '80s, there was a club called the Bamboo. Remember the Bamboo? It's a sort of like Caribbean flavored nightclub.
Yeah.
And Toronto had a really kind of like exciting scene and that really fed into the creativity going on in the comic books that were being published in this city at that point. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like there's Queen Street now. If you go right around this, like that area that was so interesting back in the '80s, is not interesting at all.
Oh no! The Bamboo Club is now a hiking equipment store.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Progress, I guess.
Yeah,
I know.
The kind of trouble I got into back in the '80s and the '90s in that corner is not possible anymore.
No, oh no, it's just funny. I mean, it's hilarious how it happens, and it just kind of sneaks up on you. You're suddenly like, what happened to that bookstore over here or that thing over there? You know,
it was really exciting, and it really kind of fed into my excitement for the work that I was doing in that era.
Yeah,
and I'm obviously I'm not 19. I'm not like I was 16 in 1986. I'm not that age anymore.
Yeah,
I can't speak to what is going on for somebody who's 16 years old now and getting into it, but I can't imagine that they would go down to downtown Toronto, that Queen Street area specifically, and get that same kind of creative buzz that was in the air.
Yeah.
Now,
it was a very different street. Yeah, like I think it was like the late '90s, early 2000s when it really began to shift. You know, I remember when the Gap first appeared on Queen Street. I was like, oh, that's the beginning. You know,
first Starbucks.
Yeah, you know, it's just oh man, Actually, before we sign up, quick question. Like, speaking of music, like, has that been a big part of your inspiration for film or comics? Like, do you have a particular genre you listen to at all, or are you like all over the map? Are you just like one day classic, another day country, hip hop, whatever?
Yeah, I'm all over the map. I was first inspired. My first love was movie music. Surprisingly.
Oh, okay.
The soundtrack guy, and then my father was and continues to be like huge into jazz.
Oh, okay, nice.
I listened to when I was a kid was movie soundtracks, jazz, show tunes. Like, West Side Story, for example.
Yeah.
In the house. I was into that. And then around 12, 13, then I started to get into like mainstream pop, pop, whatever. And then since then, it's whatever, man. It's like, there's good music to be had in almost every genre, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Like people look at my playlist sometimes on my iTunes or my record collection. They're just like, "What is wrong?" You're just like, there is no continuity. It's just like, And sometimes I'll discover something completely off base, and I'll be like, "Oh, this is really cool. I'll try this out for a while."
I gotta say, I'm really big into like electronic music though. Like these days, like like electronic music, and here we go. Yeah. And then stuff that was like atmospheric, and lends itself to like mood and.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
In my storytelling. So,
no, I was big into that in like the late '90s, mid to late '90s, and early. I still am. I just not into it as much.
Right.
But that was like the big scene I was in for, especially when I was hitting clubs and stuff. Yeah. And
I worked in the club industry for a while, so I was that was a big thing for me too.
Oh yeah, were you like on the floor, like a bouncer, or a bartender, or?
Bouncer, fuck that shit. No, I was. Personality, man. I'm one of the people that the bouncer wants to get rid of.
Oh, okay. Maybe you were a go-go dancer. I don't know. I could see you. I worked at a club called. I think didn't we talk about this, Ramon, when we were hanging out that time? I worked at a club called Joker. Oh, that's right. Yes, we did talk about that. I remember that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. On Richmond, Joker was.
I worked on the top floor of Joker. I was.
That's right.
That crew. And we used to like make sets. On the top floor is a thing called the Cathedral. And then we have themes. We had like an alien theme. We had a film noir theme. We had like a Blade Runner thing one time. We did an Egyptian theme. We did a devil theme. It was awesome.
Oh my god, that sounds.
We'd like paint these like massive murals and posters, and we would get like massive chunks of styrofoam. I remember for our like we did an Egyptian theme once.
Yeah.
And we carved out these like sarcophagi.
Oh wow!
Enormous bits of styrofoam. We carved them, we painted them, and we set them up, and it was pretty cool. So
that's like another era that doesn't exist anymore to a degree.
Look, dude, all gone.
The whole club scene is like kind of died out. Like I think Tinder killed the club scene, or I don't know what.
I mean, we still have a little bit of a club.
Yeah, a little bit, but not as grand. I think.
It used to be a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now it's
It's like we got one or two peppered around.
Yeah.
Oh man, now we're just old men reminiscing. That's all we are now. Big. you got two gray beards hanging out with you here.
Hey man.
You know.
What do you guys think? Somebody wrote something earlier about Aardvark Anaheim. I just want to.
Oh, that was Sam. He had mentioned a few, I think, other Canadian companies.
There you go. Aircell
Matrix. I'm not familiar with Matrix. Comics creators locally.
I remember Matrix. They were not a huge one, if I remember correctly. But Aircell, I definitely remember. Raiders. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where the cool kids come now. That's right. Let's make our own scene. You know. Oh man. Pardon?
Hold on one sec, fellas. I'm just letting my other cat out.
Oh, so many cats.
How many you got? I got 4.
I got a boy.
I wish we only had 2.
0.
Man, you're not richer for it. You're poorer for it, not ever.
Oh no, I'm allergic, so I'm perfectly fine without it.
Whatever.
Maybe one day, nice little cute dog when I'm ready, but that's about it. Oh man. Oh, dude, it's been so great to have you on here and chat. Totally. And, we'll have to do another catch-up drink after you're done. Godhead, we do a little celebration, maybe. Get you out of the house.
I would love
that. Show the cats.
Show the cats. That sounds peculiar. But yeah, thanks for coming on and sharing your experiences and your advice and everything, man. It's been great chatting with you.
Absolutely. It's great meeting you with you and talking with you, man. Great stuff. I love hearing all your stories, and
thank you.
It's like you're kind of like Toronto royalty.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty cool, man. So the fact that you've worked in so many fields, I always find that's interesting to talk to people like that, because they just have so much experience.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No.
It all feeds into everything else you do too, right? So
absolutely.
No question. Cool.
No question. Wow, that's 2 hours already.
All right. It's black on, and this is what happens.
Wow, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Ben. And I guess I'll be. My brain's a little bit fried here. It was a long weekend here for me working.
Thanks everybody that came by and swung by.
Yeah, thank you so much.
There, Sam, some good questions there. Obviously, like always.
Yeah,
the vault of knowledge as well. Rob,
and thanks for Rob doing all the pulling up things on the fly. He's on the ball. That guy.
He's on top of it.
Fantastic guest. That's why.
That's right. Makes it easy. Makes it easy.
Totally.
All right.
Well,
till next week.
Nice meeting you again, and thanks to everybody that come along. And
great. We'll see you. Nice. That's fantastic.